Morning. Nice to see you here. Just hanging out in my yard. It's an early Sunday morning. I thought I'd make you a video. Maybe therapeutic for myself, not quite sure. But I've been dealing with the emotional aspects of a trauma bond and a narcissistic relationship with a narcissistic family. And I must tell you, it's probably one of the most difficult things that I've had to deal with my entire life. I'm going to be 60 in 3 weeks or so. So I'm 59 right now. I live alone. I've been living alone for the last couple of years, and it's been really quite nice, actually. I came out of a marriage. I was with the girl for approximately 10 years. We were married for 4. We got married right here in this backyard, actually, with her family and so forth. And, you know, the process of healing and letting go, it's really difficult when you're emotionally attached to some idea, and to process the fact that that person never existed to begin with is really a bizarre thing to think about. I'll take a shower sometimes and I'll play things in my head and I'll say, how in the hell did I get in this situation? So I would like to take you guys back to the beginning. I was my first wife. We were married for 27 years or so, a long time, and she had a relationship indiscretion, and trust was broken. And although she was a, kind, sweet person who wasn't narcissistic, I just felt that after that betrayal, it was time to explore other options. So I dated for a short period of time. And upon doing a car show, a fundraiser at a restaurant, a woman parked in a spot that was designated for the show cars, and I offered to move her car. One thing led to another, and we started communicating that day. And I believe we exchanged phone numbers that day, but I never contacted her. Months went by, and I was at the same restaurant bar area having a Sprite, by the way, with one of my friends, and this same girl sat at the end of the bar. I guess she was off her shift, and she said, I wish somebody would buy me a drink. And my friend nudged me and said, I think that means you. Well, I excused myself politely and went to the restroom, and my friend said, you should give him your number, and he went to put her number in my phone, and it was already in my phone. And that was kind of a running joke me and my friend had. Long story short, the relationship took off very quickly. We went out one time. I think we had slept together. Could be on our first official date. I think we went out to lunch one time for an hour, and then our second date, I guess, but the lunch date really wasn't like a formal date. I think the sex was out incredible. I mean, this girl wanted to do things that no other woman really wanted to do, and she was hitting all the buttons with the fantasies of anything that you wanted. And she was accommodating, and she was agreeable, and I got the whole idolization, and I got the full package with this one. And things moved very, very quickly. we had our moments, of course, where I really didn't want to be tied down, and that led to some conflicts once in a while. And she had been living with her father. I didn't tell you, but she was substantially younger than me. I was 48 at the time, and she was 30. Well, didn't seem to bother anybody in her family, or it. I had thought originally that she was too young for me, and I even told her that. But she, assured me age is just a number, blah, 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 sort of what all the girls say. But again, things went quickly, and we just started having a ball. Now, I was a business owner, and I sort of let my business just, I was having really the time of my life with this girl. We were traveling, we were going to different cities, and very quickly she started staying over almost every night, and every night led to this, and maybe even something called triangulation was happening, and I didn't realize it. There was someone lurking in the background that liked her. Of course, she assured me that I was crazy, this guy was ugly, he didn't mean anything to her. The same story that they tell all the time. Come to find out different later on down the road, of course. We just started becoming like not only a couple, but like we were inseparable. We were just like the best of friends, and we went everywhere and did everything together. Well, her grandmother was ill, and she needed help with her taking care of her grandmother. Her father, who was an artist, and they came from some success. The grandfather was a scientist at the Scripps Center, so they had some prestige to their family name. But yet the money was it wasn't managed correctly. It wasn't given to the kids in any kind of way. She definitely wasn't wealthy at all. She had no bank account when I met her. She claimed her account was hacked or stolen or fraudulent. She had this always excuse. Her credit score was like 400 or something like that. I mean, it was like really low if she had any credit at all. She didn't have a bank account. She was using her sister's bank card for transactions to put her paycheck in and so forth, using her sister's name. There was lots of red flags were there, but I really wasn't really taught about the red flags in women, and I really didn't understand, because I'm not like that. I never understood how one human could hurt another human, especially using sex and love and all that kind of stuff to manipulate, which is really, really tough stuff. So fast forward, getting back to the dad. Dad was an alcoholic, and he had just been going through his separation. The mom was a Jehovah's Witness. When I say this out loud, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? But here it is. Mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and honestly, the mother came across as super nice person. I didn't know about Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not a very religious guy, raised on the East Coast. Catholic church was in our lives periodically, but nothing serious, and so it didn't mean anything. Everyone has their truth, and kind of went with that idea. Well, they were separating, and the mom wasn't talking to the dad. It was like that shunning thing or whatever that is. I didn't really know what discard was at the time, but the mom was, just cut the dad off. And the dad was, although in his alcoholic bullshit, and he was very self-centered. Every conversation went back to him. It was just the way it was. He needed help with getting off of Xanax and alcohol, and I took him actually up to a cabin in Big Bear so he could detox one time, and I spent the whole week up there with him. I thought we'd have a bonding experience, but nah, He never really appreciated anything that I did for him or his family. He just narcissistic type of guy. And again, I didn't really know what that disorder was really all about. And I didn't know how, and I thought, out of all the people, I knew that her sister, the youngest one, had some issues with, things, possession. Seemed like she was very possessive. But I didn't come across as a liar yet in my world yet, and I stayed kind of away from her. And the dad, I tried to limit my contact with him. I spoke up a few times about certain things, and that were just probably not good for them. But I again didn't know what narcissism was, so I got, I was a bad guy on that whole thing. So fast forward, Grandma takes care of. Grandma loved me. She was actually a very nice old lady. I think she loved me more than she loved her family, if you want to know the truth. I have some pictures I could post that, we had a good time with Grandma. We took care of her for the end of her life, and it was probably it was actually rewarding for me in a lot of ways, because it's, you can never pay it forward. I wish somebody would do that for me when I was in my late 80s and early 90s. She died at 94, but she still had it. Anyhow, their family didn't do much. So her own son was most of the time drunk and non-existent. And he only really seemed to care about the money at that point. And the money was, it was money. It wasn't in today's standards. It wasn't obscene money. But it was definitely comfortable to live the rest of your life money. But it was always mismanaged, and they always put the wrong people in charge, and it was always some kind of funky thing going on. And anytime anyone spoke up against it, you were the bad guy. So anyhow, moving forward, my girlfriend at the time, we ended up moving in and getting a place. And she was really heartbroken because of her daughter. She was sharing custody with her first husband. Ding, 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 another red flag. Daughter was, Elle that's her daughter's name, and that was my stepdaughter for 10 years. She was a beautiful, beautiful little girl, and me and her bonded. I thought, we just did, and I got the joy of raising a 3 to 10-year-old little girl. And after my wife that separated, I haven't spoken to her since, and it's really sad, but that's just the way narcissistic people operate. Anyhow, we ended up getting a house together, and we tried to get custody. So we'll just call her Jasper. Jasper was my ex's name, and after Jasper would tell me things, which is so weird. Now I know it's projection, but she would tell me things that her ex was doing, and I had no reason to doubt or think that she would make stuff up. But I can tell you, almost if you were going to write a script, that the things that she told me about him, she's accused me of. The things she told me that he was doing, she does. It's the strangest thing. Like it's sort of like she doesn't care that I know all this stuff already, and she just does it and gets away with it and lies about it, and people believe her. And that's another thing, by the way. I want to let you guys know something, that she's very pretty, and she actually got a little bit better looking as she got older. I think maybe not. Who knows? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. But people believe people that are good looking, and if you're a female and you're good looking, it's almost unstoppable, unfortunately. And guys like old hacks like myself get no one believes us. What the fuck would want? So we would believe a older white guy who must be lying through our teeth. Anyhow, moved in together, got a house. Life was pretty good. I mean, she seemed to be really the unicorn, I mean, my friends thought I found the one. It wasn't just me that thought this. I mean, a lot of my friends told me the same thing. Like felt lucky for me that I found this woman. She seems to be attentive and loving and pretty and kind, and like I'm telling you, like everything that I wanted in a woman, this woman was. Everything I wanted. Couldn't ask for anything more. Meanwhile, again, I was successful, and I owned things, and I was at a point in my life where I had achieved enough success that I could retire early. And mind you, this would be the second time in my life I retired. I retired a little earlier for a couple years just to take some time off. My father passed early, and I always felt that time was something that I couldn't waste. So I took some time off early in my 40s, and then I went back to work and got my business going. It took me about 6 years to get things back together after my first divorce. And with my first wife, it was a completely different scenario. Like, people will say, well, you got married one time, like, why would you do that again? When I got married and divorced with my ex, I had no problems giving her half of my stuff. I mean, that was it. She was there when I was building it, although she fought me a lot on it, but she was still there, and I honored that. And I'm an earner, and I was able to get it back. Well, now I have this new young wife that has nothing, didn't bring anything to the table but her looks, and what I know now is called sex bombing. Lots of sex. I mean, sex was never an issue. And through our whole relationship, actually, she never cut it off. I never felt like she was using against me. I always felt that we had plenty of, intimate reaction. I did notice, but I did notice that sometimes, more often than I would like to have had it, I would say to her, you're just laying there, or she was emotionally disconnected during sex. I did notice that over time, not in the beginning. Well, anyway, she ended up getting pregnant, of course, right? Here it is. And, we had a baby together, so I got kind of baby trapped again. We had a beautiful baby boy, and I was there through the whole thing, the whole pregnancy, the birth. I helped with raising him. I was working less, and here I'm in my 50s now, and I got this little kid, and I got this young wife, and ended up buying a beautiful home on a river here, with some proceeds that I had from another venture that I had done. And I thank God I didn't commingle any money with this woman. I ended up buying this property and another commercial property in town, and again, never commingled. I guess what I really understood is, like, my subconscious knew that she was really bad with money. She was bad with her credit. She didn't just, she was like type of person that if you give her $10, she spends $10. You know what I mean? Like, or you give her $100, she spends $100. I mean, whatever it is, it's going to get spent. It's not going to, like, stay in her pocket very long, and it won't be spent on anything that, a person that with only $10 would spend it on. She'd buy something for $20 with the $10 and still owe. So, I mean, it's kind of how she operated. She wasn't good with money. Well, things were going good, and I had this second home up here. We were living in Southern California, and I would come up here, and this was kind of a spot for me to kind of get away and just decompress, and I really enjoyed having it. And then the pandemic hit in 2020. Well, LA was like, no one knew what was going on. I was like, well, why don't we move the family up here? And we did. And we ended up moving. I got rid of a lot of things. I sold my business down there. I downsized my life, and things were just slow. It's just a slower lifestyle. And here I'm, again, I'm in my late 50s. I'm cruising in there. It's the year's 2025 right now, and it was 2020. So 5 years ago, I was like 55 years old. enjoying life. You know, we were accumulating friends up here. I encouraged all kinds of, like, you know, I parties at my house. I have a great house on a river here, and I indulged in, you know, people like, you know, her age, not people not my age, more people like her age. They're, you know, let's face it, they're younger and they're a little bit, you know, they're fun, you know. They're not like old and crotchety, and you know, they're still life hasn't beat them down just yet, I guess. Um, well, again, you know, all the promises that were made, never kept, never fulfilled. The promise of loyalty, the promise of, you know, never hurting and never doing that. Well, that shit went out the window. And I didn't really notice any distance. There was one guy that just started spending way too much time around her. And I asked her about it many, many times. And of course I got the same excuse. No, I don't do this. I don't know why he just showed up there. I don't know this. I don't know. It's just the lies, you know. It's just all the fucking lies. And one day we're sitting in the family room. By the way, I watched her go through her, you know, she was taking online classes to get her master's degree for a teaching job. Now, mind you, she was 40 years old. She never achieved anything. She hadn't had anything that she had was given to her by rather her father or me. So she really never achieved anything. You know, just kind of coasted to 40. Never had any success in anything. Bartender, I guess. Well, I guess this guy was moving out of state, and he had the hots for her, man. And you know, I used to like kid around with her. I said, you know, we have a lot of trees on this property. And I said, this guy's name is Russell, and I said, this guy's like, is he rustling the fucking trees outside? Where the hell? What? He bounces out of nowhere. He's at my house. Oh, you know, she excused it. Well, you know, so one day, you know, she had I bought her well, I should say, I helped her get a little red Mercedes. She loved that little car, you know. It was brand new, Alpha dealer lot, you know. It was a cute little car. And, you know, I'm a hands-on type guy. I'm nice. And I ended up spending the whole afternoon detailing that car. I mean, inside and out. And I gassed it up because she wanted to go horseback riding the next day. So I got a car all ready for her, got everything going. Lo and behold, this guy flew back in, and they're going to go meet at a hotel. That's who she is. After I spent that whole day doing that, that's the kind of respect that that woman had for me. To allow me to do this, and then to go meet some other man at a hotel. Well, I didn't find out about it then. I found out about it a few weeks later. She had a family reunion coming up. And just before the family reunion, his wife, because he was married too, his wife ended up sending a group text calling my wife a slut. Said, stay away from my husband. Well, that was the beginning of the unwinding of the whole thing. Well, we fought about that, and she just became so indifferent. Her mood changed. Everything, like a complete 180-degree change in her relationship with me. And it was very evident that something was going on. But she insisted that we go to this family reunion. Insisted about it. And I said to her, if you're going to be acting this way, I do not want to be at a family reunion with you. And she insisted everything's going to be fine. But of course, she couldn't control herself. She was still texting him, and, you know, she was still emotionally involved with this whole thing. Her sister knew about it, by the way, and just allowed it to go on, never stopped her. Even I think the brother-in-law knew about it at the family reunion, and I didn't know. I mean, he came to me, and it was a kind of weird story talking to me about cheating. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? And anyway, we got into a huge fight. I walked out of the house at like, I think it was like 9 o'clock. This was a beach rental house. I set my car to 4 a.m., not one call from her. I knew, at that point in time, I knew she's somewhere else. She isn't my partner anymore. Anyway, big fight occurred. We ended up going home. Her cousin's wife came over, talked to me a little bit, kind of tried to comfort me a little bit. I think she felt bad. Me and her got into another fight in the kitchen because she was still on the phone doing her shit because those fucking narcissists don't think we're right. Well, long story short, never apology, never the truth. Trickle truth came out. Nothing ever, never accountability for anything. The apology was it's like more like, I'm sorry I got caught. She called my son. I have a 34-year-old son from my first wife. She called my son and was like almost mad at me that I found out. I mean, it was like the weirdest thing. Like, narcissists are fucking weird people. Well, you think, okay, well, this relationship. I didn't tell you. There's another TikTok video that her and her friend made. It was a really disgusting thing that was so disrespectful to me. Just so bad, you know, and one of her friends sent it to me, like, hey, did you see this? It was on TikTok, and I don't really get involved about shit. But anyway, long story short, you know, this is 2022. Now we're going into 2023. A couple events happened with her getting out of control and becoming physical and violent and choking. She liked to choke, you know, that was her thing, right? And would choke me, and you know, I never laid my hands on her, you know, but she of course told everyone that I did, that I was abusive, I was this, I was that, you know. I mean, it was always has to be my fault of some type, for some reason. It can't be her fault ever. Well, she was arrested for domestic violence, and because of strangulation on a Friday night. She didn't get out till Monday evening. And because she's a narcissist, she blamed me for the whole thing. Like, I lied. I mean, like, cops don't arrest people because another person lies. And I didn't want to get her arrested. I actually tried to save her from getting arrested. But, you know, there's no talking to her about that kind of crap. So, fast forward, her family moved her out because if she got into one more argument, the cops got called again, she would do like 6 months of time, and she said she had to like go 1 year without that. So that was her excuse to move out, which gave her an excuse to go have an affair. You know, that's her little mini vacation, to go hook another supply. She went to go work at a little bar. Go figure. Well, I was totally against it. I told her family, this is the beginning of the end of us, because our relationship is not going to survive this. None of them cared. They didn't care. I don't think any of them had any respect for me whatsoever. They just all used me. Every single one of those people used me. Every single one of those people. And I don't want to sound like a victim here, but I have means and I can do things, and they just used me. And just callous, the way they are. They'll do it to your face. They'll smile at your face and stab you in the back. This is the kind of people they are. And if you've never run across a crowd like that, ooh, man, it's dangerous. Well, she ended up, now we're moving into 2023. We're in the latter part of the year. She's been working, spent the whole summer with me. You know, we were here swimming. The kids played. Me and her were still acting like we were married. We were still physical. We got along pretty good. Everything seemed like it was good. When I'm not a big fighting type guy, you know, if something's wrong, I'm going to talk about it. But I don't really. I'm not confrontational. Like, even doing this is like weird. It took me this long to sit down and talk about it. So mom calls me, and early December. Now, meanwhile, I didn't spend Thanksgiving with my kids at that time. The promises that were starting to be made were not being fulfilled anymore. Like when she said she would show up, she wouldn't show up, or she was doing something, or she was busy, or blah, 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 blah. You know, something. So the mom calls me up, and they bought a horse, and I didn't want to have anything to do with that horse. I have cleaned stalls many times. But financially, I didn't want to participate in it. I didn't think she could afford a horse, and I didn't think that I wanted to afford a horse, and I didn't think my daughter at the time was like into having a horse like that. She just was like a weekend warrior kind of thing, you know, weekend rider. Not, you know, she didn't have the love or that drive that you see with some kids. Anyhow, her mom calls me and says, "Why aren't you paying for the horse?" And I explained just exactly what I just said to you guys, and she's like, "Well, if you're not gonna," I go, you know, in a nutshell, she said, "If you don't pay for the horse, stay away from my daughter." That's what she said to me. It's early December. So we go and when I was after this is after Thanksgiving, we go and take Christmas pictures down in Portland, is the city close to us. We take Christmas pictures. We go out to our favorite Italian restaurant. We're holding hands. Now, I hadn't drank in 11 months. And I shared a bottle of wine with her. We went back to her apartment. We were physical, you know, we were kissing. We were talking about our future together. Well, maybe I was talking about our future together. She might have just been like, maybe that kind of thing. Maybe I wasn't reading the tea leaves correctly. One weird thing stuck out as I was about to leave, and she said to me, goes, "I can't be alone." And I said to her, I said, "Well, you know," I said, "don't worry, I'll be here for you." That was probably a mistake for me to say that. I should have told her, "You're going to be alone," but I didn't. I said that. You know, I was a good guy. And she goes, and she said to me, oh, I did tell the mom one other thing. Let me go back to the mom's thing real quick. I said to the mom, I said, if she doesn't have a boyfriend already, I'd be surprised. Like, honestly, like, the way things were going, remember, she'd just been disappearing. Well, sure enough, she did have a boyfriend, and her mom knew about it, but still asked me for money. Nice, huh? Jehovah's Witness. Really godly-like, I guess. She said to me, I don't want to be alone. I told her that, and she said something else to me. What was she saying? Oh, I go, don't worry, we'll make it through this. And she said, oh, aren't you confident? No, I wasn't confident. I was fucking stupid. That's what I was, because I was still in that fog of trauma bond. And let me just tell you, so it's been a couple years, and like I went through hell with her. And the fucking trauma bond is crazy. Yeah, so the very next day, this was a Saturday night, took her out to dinner, was intimate with her, blah, blah, blah. Next day I walked in, I had to drop something off at where she was working. There's a guy, it's like 11 o'clock, there's a guy sitting at the bar, like, and he didn't turn his head when I walked in. They were like talking under their breath when I walked in. And I went to give her a hug, and she pulled away from me. And I said, what is that, your boyfriend? Sure to fuck enough, it was her boyfriend. She had been seeing that guy for a couple months. Love bombing him, sex bombing him. Oh shit. She was having sex with him while she was having sex with me. That's how fucked up she is. And that was pretty much it. Then a discard happened. There was a discard. I was blocked on everything. The only way we can communicate is through a parenting app. Still, it's the only way we communicate. I became, this awful human being that I've had to take the brunt of the whole thing. Like, she put a big smear campaign out on me. All the family, they call them flying monkeys or whatever, or enablers or whatever. They all gathered around the wagon. Your dad, who never helped never helped us at all. He didn't need his help, but never, ever, ever helped his daughter when she was with me. Didn't give her any money, nothing. And he had money, right? He ends up paying and hiring, like they planned it. They hired a big shot attorney, which she told me to my face, I will not be coming after your assets. I'm not going to come after your house. I'm not going to come after your stuff. I just want a quick and simple divorce. So I went with that. I went with that. And I didn't lawyer up right away. Well, I got her lawyer, and they came after everything I fucking own and had. And they called it marital this and marital that. And every time I'd go into the family court system, I got screwed one way or another. I mean, it was the nightmare that you hear about all the time, no matter what it was. Child custody, the amount of child support, the amount of money that she was asking for me. This is a woman that, like, totally conned me, and I supported her daughter. I'm for not, like, and none of the family, no one stepped back and said, man, that's not right. Don't do that. No, that's not how they operate. Out of everyone that I've met, I mean, I hate to say it, I can't say for Brett because I don't know him that well, but I can tell you the only decent humans that I've met through the Dixon family has been Tom and Lisa. That's it. The rest of them were toxic fucking POSs. Anyhow, a 1-year divorce with her. I can't tell you how much money tapped into my retirement. But they say narcissists aren't very smart, and I don't think they are either. But they manipulate, and they are able to get ahead of things. Like they're planning down the road, how they're going to do it and how they're going to get you. So here we stand today, and I go back and forth quite a bit with, thinking about all the things that I did for their family and how kind I was, and calculated was the word I was looking for. They're very calculated, but I don't think they're very smart. They calculate, So she ends up with a guy, like, I've already been with my son. My son is now he's 8, gonna be 9. I see him 4 days every other week, a month. So in the end of a month, I see my son about 8 days. It's hard to be a real parent that way. I just feel like I don't really have the same say in things. There's another man that's raising my kid. He's probably been trauma bonded. Well, not has probably. He's been trauma bonded and sex bombed by her, and I guess, I don't know his last name. I have no idea. I've seen him. They showed up one time unannounced at my son's graduation last year. I called him a piece of shit. He messed around with a married woman. He did me a favor. I'm not bitter with him because of him doing that. He's still just a piece of shit, because I wouldn't mess around with a married woman. They moved in together almost immediately. It's just same cycle of shit, narcissists do a loop-de-loop. And he wasn't man enough to come and say anything to me. Neither was, that's what I found out about narcissists. They're kind of cowardly. They don't man up. The dad never manned up. Neither this guy never manned up. I'm sure that she tells him a lot of things, but, even with her first husband, at least I communicated with him. But this guy has not communicated at all, so that's trying to get that off my chest. Oh, the lies in court. Narcissists have no problem lying in court. And they got all their flying monkeys to collaborate their lies. I had people write letters about things that were just so untrue, and that they did it for her. She conjured up this whole scheme. So, you might ask me where I'm at now. Well, it's kind of rough because, I'm at an age of 60, dating is not something that I look forward to doing, and I'm okay with that. I do miss the fact that being in a relationship with a narcissistic person is like being on crack cocaine or something. Like, it's on a beat like a drug. Like, like the highs are so high, the lows are really fucking low, and you can't trust them. They lie, they just lie. So if you can live with that, you can live in that fool's paradise, then you're good to go. Really didn't answer your question. How am I? Well, being in a place that I love has scarred me a little bit because I had the intentions of not living here by myself. You know what I mean? So I wanted to have a family. I have this beautiful property that I don't have a family here. Finding a new person at this time in my life is really kind of hard because I'm getting set in my ways and I really don't enjoy a lot of, I enjoy company for a given period of time, but not for, I want them to go home, I'm getting kind of used to living on my own. The narcissistic abuse has been something that's been really hard to process and deal with, the fact that it was not just one person that was narcissistic that abused, it was a family of them. Like, I got involved with a nest. Yeah, so that's the story. Fellas, be careful. I don't know how I could have avoided it. The only thing I could have been is wiser, but the only way to ever know about something like this is to have to go through it, which is like, that's like the crazy part about it. Like, I'm telling you that the relationship was like a drug, and if you've ever experienced anything like it, unless it's like, this is covert narcissists that I'm talking about. So they're like the sneakiest ones, You wouldn't know, like, I'm telling you, like, you don't know. And you go from, like, you're here, you're on top of the fucking mountain, to you're in a fucking dirt, like that. With nothing that you did. What you did is you didn't tolerate or you set boundaries. And they don't accept that. Because they're not going to accept their responsibility. And then how do you trust somebody that, it's, she went to therapy after all this. Her therapist, I swear to God, I thought she was cheating with her therapist for a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if she was, actually. She's like getting all made up to go to therapy. I'm like, two things are happening. She has hots for her therapist, or she's not going to therapy. I don't know. Which one do you think it is? Or both? I used to say to her, I'm like, you're going like to therapy. Why are you putting makeup and getting all dressed up? I remember one time she said to me, she like putting these jeans on and like is going to therapy and then the next day she's wearing the very same jeans and she says, doesn't my ass look great in these jeans? I'm like, what the? That's what narcissists do. They say these things like, and you don't. It's like code. Like, you got to encrypt what they're really trying to say. Like, I was out with her one time, and she's like, because they triangulate, and she says to me, the bass, I could go home with the bass player if I want. I'm like, that's with your husband? And you say, I'm like, what? Like, I don't know why we were seeing a band, and I guess the bass player walked by her or something. She thought she had her in. But, look at guys like to have sex, and they like to have sex with pretty girls. Pretty girls, can be damaged. And you really don't know, like, you just don't know, like, you learn about it afterwards, right? You learn about, hey, you know, the relationship that a woman has with her father is really important, because if she didn't get raised properly, you're going to have this kind of problems that I have, and it's something that we can't avoid, because she's not going to respect the man. But I digress. Well, thank you for taking this 45-minute talk with me. There's so much more I could add to this. I have pictures of things that will make your head spin, and you'd be like, oh my God. I was at a concert one time. I got these great seats to go see one of her favorite bands. It was for her birthday. That bitch was on her phone texting her boyfriend the whole time. That's the kind of fucking shit that you deal with, and you have to process that and go, man, that hurts. I cleaned her fucking car, and then she takes it to go fuck some other guy. That fucking hurts. She let me pay for all her stuff, knowing that it wasn't that she was returning anything from me. She was just manipulating me and trauma bond and love bomb me, and didn't give one rat's ass if I lived or died. Actually, probably would prefer that I died, because this way she would be entitled to my stuff. With my son, that's just a fucking mess. You know, poor kid. He's being used just like everyone else in her world is. You know, he's just a pawn. I think he knows it, but you know, I sometimes process, I say, how do you treat the father of your son and, you know, expect to have any kind of healthy relationship of any kind? But there's just nothing. She doesn't comprehend that. It's, you know, blames other people, blames me. If I speak out, blames me. Even if I say something to somebody, she's already, oh, I'm the crazy ex. I'm the guy that, you know, makes all this stuff up. You know, I'm the abuser. You know, she had to leave me. She had to do all these things. Oh, I started taking it with the therapist. The therapist told me, you know, I'm like, what the? She wants me to meet her therapist. It's like her, I don't know, 5th or 6th time with her therapist. I'll go in. And I started saying to her, I said to the therapist, I said, listen, at this point we were still living together. We're still getting along. And I said to her, I said, you know, the problem with it is like she trickle-truthed me. Like, it just little bits of truth, and it's just, I had to, like, pull it out, every little thing. Well, you know, everything she told me was based on lies. And you know what the guy said to me? And this is a therapist. Said, maybe she's not the right girl for you. I'm like, what the fuck? What? You know what? He's right. I mean, he was right. But at that point in the game, we have a family. You want your kids going back and forth, and, you know, I don't know what kind of example she thinks she's setting for her daughter. Now there's 2 guys. Now she's into her 3rd guy. You know, and then, you know, obviously she cheated with her new guy you know, but she cheated in a sense, but she didn't tell me. You know, she told me she was living with her at her dad's house, and she was already separated from her husband. So it wasn't really cheating, but I think it was a different story now, because I went back to him I went back to, his name's Janelle, and I went back to him, and I it was really hard to, like, even, it's like I owe that man an apology, because I did to him what this guy's doing to me, basically. And it's just because I believed her story, just like this guy believes her story too. And, you know, unfortunately, if the guy's not wise or doesn't wisen up, he's gonna have the same problem I had, because she's only gonna be loyal until something better comes around, and when something better comes around, she's gonna jump ship again. That's what she's been taught. And She doesn't believe in loyalty and honesty, and that those don't exist in her mind. So, but the facade of, of being this power couple, I guess, we had that for a while. I mean, Canasper, my name's Ken, and they used to call us Canasper, like Brad and Angelina Jolie. So, I think that was that's part of that whole disease, is your persona. Well, thank you for taking the time and listening to this, and maybe I'll play this down the road, see where life takes us. It's like this river just keeps on going. If you have any comments, just if this experience rings a bell for you, I guess the only thing we can do is push forward. And it gets better. It's just aggravating. For me, it's aggravating because of the tens of thousands of dollars that I spent doing this. I mean, it's maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and still it's not enough. I mean, she's always just wanting more and more and more from me. Like the conversations which she'll call is just be about something that she did. It's like, here, I'll give you an example. This is how these people think. She sent him I bought his baseball glove, his bat, most of his stuff that's in his baseball bag was sitting in my house forever and ever. I lent it to them. He had a pair of cleats that I bought him. They were getting a little bit tight, but he still wears them. But he still wears them. Now, mind you, he goes to baseball once a week. And he's not like this big athletic type guy. And so she sends him with new cleats. Like everything that she buys now is brand new, name brand. It's that whole, because the guy, she won't found the guy with money. And she sent him with soccer cleats. And I said, well, don't wear those, son. Those are soccer cleats. Have your mom return them. Wear these cleats one more time and return them. And, have your mother return them and get baseball cleats, because baseball cleats and soccer cleats are different. They're designed differently. Well, the following, 2 weeks, because I have every other week, 2 weeks, a pair of baseball cleats. And she says, I sent him with his new cleats. Can you make sure they come back? I'm like, they're going to be in his baseball bag. I don't know whatever. And then she had a text from her like just a day or two ago, and she says, we had to buy baseball cleats. We got them 2 different styles for different terrains. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't a mistake that you bought the wrong cleats. It was because you wanted him to have different terrain cleats since he doesn't play soccer. Okay. And he's 8. And he's going to grow out of those socks before soccer season. Okay, I gotcha. And she wants me to pay half. Like, but on top of it, with I compared child support in an amount that's over what I should be paying her because of her lies in court. They lied about, because I was self-employed, they lied, say I'm hiding money, of course. It was the whole thing, And everyone assumes that somebody that's self-employed is hiding money. It's just the assumption that's just made. Whether it's true or not, it's the assumption. So that's like the kind of crap that I deal with now with her. And at almost 60, I'd prefer just to go on vacation and be done. But, I'm still struggling away at it, dealing with all this nonsense. And I talk to friends and, they don't want to hear it. I talk to myself here, really. I don't know, do you keep it bottled inside? You just, what do you do? There was never any closure, by the way. The closure was walking into a bar and seeing her guy that she's cheating the second time with. you know? And that's okay. Somehow she's the good one. Go figure. All right, folks. Well, listen, you enjoy your day. Leave your comments below. Peace out.